So I know what you're going to say. It's been a while since ITP Paladin decided to upload a video concerning literally anything, even though putting out videos of what he was trying to do for his future and blah blah blah, all talk, no nothing. It's been one hectic month. Home ownership, trying to find a place to live, managing the baby, putting together materials to record. I might actually just throw a video together and not even care about the editing, truth be told. But something's come up, and I thought to myself, why not just throw out a video so that I'm at least, somewhat active? I might also go on a rant later on today or tomorrow or sometime soon. My baby's watching her show. Dishes are being done in the background, so let's hop on to it. So as of... when did this come out? Today, actually. Okay, so as of today. I don't know in the terms of hours, it doesn't mention the exact time it was released, but Overwatch 2 developer blog tuning hero balance for launch. So I thought to myself, why not give it a read? Now, I've already looked through this, and quite truthfully, I'm not 100% impressed, but just bear with it for 2 seconds. So, starting with the October launch, is on the horizon. The team is hard at work. Where's my glasses? I can't. I'm dyslexic, apparently. The team has been hard at work preparing for the launch of Overwatch 2. For today's update, let's take some time to talk about hero balance for launch day and break down the philosophy and approach for balancing the game for our new seasonal model for Overwatch 2. I'll give you the breakdown of this one. This one's kind of easy. They want to do a 9-week season Candace, and they want to introduce new maps, heroes, and game modes for characters with more experience and all that, and they want to release a new hero every other season, an addition of new maps and game modes with regular balance updates. So they're trying to keep things fresh and new with this new model. So now they're on a more, sensitive time scale and all that. Let me see. I didn't actually read the second portion, I think. I might have accidentally skipped over that. Each season will also see an impactful hero balance changes as the season. Okay. Begins to support our goals of consistently balancing the game and keeping the live service feeling dynamic. So in other words, what most games are doing now anyway. This means that new seasons will feel more distinct and special, with hero balance changing significantly when we move to the next season. We are also prepared to make additional balance adjustments if the need within a season arises to manage hero balance and power to keep our game feeling fair and fun. So here's the preview. The second public beta, bought with an abundance of hero performance data, and along with player feedback on a broader community and professional players, has been instrumental. Oh my god, I really can't read. Let's just move on, because I'm not going to be able to put that all together. Junker Queen's balance changes consist of her commanding shout being the only thing being changed. The allied health bonus reduced from 100 to 50 HP, allied duration reducing from 5 to 3 seconds, temporary health and no longer decays over its duration, cooldown increased from 11 to 15 seconds. So before I even read what they were going to write, I'm going to quickly note that when I first went into the beta that they released, I figured that they were going to do some hero balancing changes anyway. But when it came to fighting Junker Queen, no matter what hero I was playing Soldier, McCree, Widow, doesn't matter. I was having a problem getting rid of Junker Queen. Now, I understand that tanks are kind of like... they're kind of like a very strong hero. They have to be a strong hero because they're a tank. When it came to Junker Queen, even when our team was hard focused on getting rid of her, it was very hard to get rid of her individually. And then even in the instance of the bonus protection for her teammates, it did make it noticeably harder to get eliminations in a timely fashion, with basically how durable that she was as an individual hero, and her teammates became as a result of being near her. But I also understand that has to be her kit because she does not have any means of defending herself with a shield. Take and give wherever it's there, and I understand you gotta make her somewhat decent. So not to say that it was just like, I'm calling out, immediately, nerf her to the ground. She was just a little too durable, and there needed to be something. And it looks like this is what they believe. So Their words, based on data and feedback received from beta testing and more recently from observing professional play, we believe that the temporary health granted by Junker Queen's shout ability has proven too strong overall and enabled a dominating team composition at the very upper ranks of play. That's an understatement, because how would you know if it's in upper ranks of play? Because you never enabled comp, you just had quick play. What? Reducing, I guess what they mean by upper ranks is in the professional things in Overwatch. So Overwatch League, excuse me. So I'll give them that. I'll give them that for 2 seconds and continue reading. Reducing the health gain and duration while increasing the ability's cooldown are intended to reduce the overall power of this ability and make its use more deliberate and less forgiving. Okay, I can see that. And they'll continue to monitor her win rate and all that when launch comes. In general, this hits every hero in the roster. Temporary health now grants 50% reduced ultimate charge instead of 0. I am going to read what they wrote real quick, and then I'm going to put my own opinion as to what I noticed. I'm going to kind of flip-flop between doing that so that we keep it interesting. So, temporary health, not giving ultimate charge, add a lot of hidden strength to its effect, reducing consequences for riskier decisions and playstyles. More on that when my explanation comes. This is particularly effective in instances where you can grant temporary health to other players. For the players doling out the damage, doing significant damage without gaining no ultimate charge can be particularly frustrating and unrewarding. No! I thought the experience was just totally warranted. More on that later. Well, in a bit. Exactly. My baby just coughed. With this change, our goal is to preserve some of the advantages granted by temporary health, while also adding a reward for players who contribute to their teams through damage dealt. Okay, so before I even continue reading on this bottom one right here, I am going to quickly note that this was always a bad decision in my book, particularly when it came to playing my damage role, and specifically when it came to the stupid hamster. I hate that hamster, and I wish that out of all the heroes that they would remove, that he would be removed. I don't like Wrecking Ball. I think, honestly, with the amount of trouble that he causes, it would be beneficial to just remove him in general. But he has a method of giving himself temporary shielding. And honestly, if you're going to give him that much power, it always felt like every type of game was like a hit and run. Like, you had to kill him before... you had to eliminate him before he could run away. And that was almost impossible to do, especially in the middle of a firefight when you're paying attention to 1,000,001 things. It was just more frustrating that he would be able to swing his way in, pile drive, get a damage or a kill in, and then just immediately run off like a freaking rat. He's essentially a rat. I hate him that much. So when he put up his temporary shields, I would, dish out the damage. Not only did it take longer to kill him, but I got nothing for it. So for instances where you're dealing damage, there should be some ult charge, not full ult charge, because the full ult charge comes in the way of eliminating and dealing damage to an actual hero, an actual person. But when it comes to stuff like temporary shielding or objects, they should have reduced ult charge gain versus having no ult charge gain, because that's just you're dedicating a resource to try and eliminate them, and yet you're getting nothing in your return value. You may as well just ignore them and take the L. There's no winning in that scenario. So I'm glad that they finally at least saw through that. I put out a tweet on it already, basically saying, why was this not implemented in the first place in Overwatch 1? Moving on. Exactly. My baby's still making noises. She's being cute. So, damage roll passive. A new passive. This is kind of interesting. Eliminations grant 25% increased reload and movement speed for 2.5 seconds. It does not stack with itself, but it will refresh on the duration after new eliminations. And all heroes now refund up to 30% ultimate power on hero swap. Upon announcing the change for up to 30% ultimate power transfer when swapping DPS heroes, so it was just exclusive to them. This was their advantage. We saw a lot of feedback asking why it wasn't on a broader change for all heroes. After continued testing, we agree and are making change so that the entire roster should have access as we launch. And of course that means the DPS role once again finds itself without a role passive. So along with this change, we're introducing a new passive that DPS increases their movement speed and reload speed by 25%. For a brief window after getting an elimination. We believe that this changes the right balance of rewarding players who perform well in the damage role without being overpowered. However, in future seasons, we may continue to experiment with what these passives do as we look to shake up the meta regularly. Honestly, I don't hate that. It makes sense. First off, the movement speed makes sense by 25%. It gives them a little bit more mobility. In particular, let's say it's McCree. And I know a lot of people are going to probably troll me for this one at this point. I say McCree. We'll talk about that in another video. Just know that I don't care to call him Cassidy, because that's the whole name change was under duress. Again, a whole subject for another video, but I'm going to call him McCree, and we all know who we're talking about. So the point is that normally he would get an elimination. He really only has one means of mobility, and that's his roll. What happens when that roll is on a 6-second cooldown and every second counts for something? This will help him, be able to create his own gap between heroes that are constantly pressuring him. While if he gets a kill, he's at least saving himself a little bit, and his combination with the new flashbang and everything, still something to kind of learn out there. I don't hate this new passive. What I would say is if you're going to give damage roll a passive, I think, honestly, they need to start living up to their name, because I feel that damage roll is so underappreciated with select heroes. I don't know. Maybe they need to divide it up between hit scan and projectile heroes or something weird like that. Like, I'm just spitballing. I'm not thinking that really, but it's a spitball just for the surface level argument. That would mix things up. Orisa, base health and shield, or armor, excuse me, I meant to say armor. Both of them increased by 25 points exactly, meaning that she's going to get 250 makes 500, so 550. She's going to have 550 overall health and armor. Energy Javelin cooldown reduced to 6 seconds. So, as I understood, her win weight was really low, but she also had a full-on rework where everything was different. She is no longer the same hero going from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, so I kind of see this being a problem. And I can see this entire thing. So for her hero rework, lauded as fun to play and hard to kill, and particularly potent for in-your-face tank playstyle, she continued to be a challenging hero for balance, with one of the lowest win rates in the game. Giving a hero more health is a reliable solution, and increasing the frequency of her energy javelin should keep her feeling active and more effective as she charges down the front line. So, I don't hate that. I didn't really encounter her very much when it came to playing on the beta. So I can't say for certain whether or not this was a good balance patch or not. Again, I was mainly fighting like different Junker Queen team comps rather than Orisa team comps, but when we did have Orisa, it was on my team, so I didn't really notice it. But, come to think, I guess that would work, but they have the data, I don't. So we'll let that be, and we'll see how that plays out. Diva. Her booster's impact damage increased from 10 to 25. Okay, understandable. Micro missiles cooldown reduced to 7 seconds, so a 1 second cooldown difference. And call mech ultimate cost by 12%. So, I am a huge advocate that Diva needs to be tuned, because quite honestly, I thought that she's like one of the strongest tanks in the game. And for true, she has one of the highest play rates because of her power gap. So their excuse was that in 5v5 they need to increase, and I figured that they would do this for tanks anyway, but in a 5v5, obviously the responsibility is now being pushed from 2 tanks sharing their responsibilities to 1 tank now taking on all of that. So yes, I heard a banging. So she definitely needs to have more viability being the lone tank. So increasing the damage on boosters impact will add more weight to that Russian movement on her, leaning on her strengths as a fast-moving engager who can push deep into enemy lines. I really hope that they don't overtune her. She really does need to be a little balanced, just to say the least. Brigitte, her Inspire duration reduced from 6 to 5 seconds. I'll just paraphrase this because I really don't have a solid opinion on it. Again, I didn't run into many Brigittes as far as I could recall. But in 5v5, it's a little overbearing for her healing, especially even when her shield bash stun was removed. So they're just trying to make her more effective while, toning her down a bit, because she's still pretty strong. Baptiste. So this is the one that actually annoyed me. So Soldier 76 is my main hero, And I'm a little bit biased when it comes to him, but I also understand, like, you don't want to make I don't want him to be balanced to be super strong. I just want him to be, I want him to have quality. I want him to be able to be playable. And the thing is that I was having a tough time with Soldier 76 in this new playstyle, and again, that might be adapting and all that. And, you know, quite honestly, I was kind of frustrated how they keep nerfing him. They're like 18 damage per bullet, 18 damage per bullet, and a reduced drop-off. I don't even remember what the drop-off was at this point, if it was 15 or 20 meters. But here we have Baptiste, a support hero who's infamously already known in Overwatch 1 to out-damage Soldier. Just concerning primary damage. Biotic launcher primarily Biotic launcher primary fire damage, I'm very dyslexic, increased from 24 to 25, and biotic launcher primary fire minimum fall off range increased to 25 meters. So already not only are you increasing his, like even 1 point of damage is enough when it comes to, this is the thing that frustrates me. It's like, you just gave him more viability in his primary damage and his range, but yet you literally took away Soldier's bread and butter when that's the literal thing that he relies on. Baptiste does not rely on his primary fire. He's a healing hero with some of the strongest abilities in the game to prevent people from literally dying. It's an overpowered ability that everybody knows of called Lamp. So this kind of frustrates me that you would continue to make his damage more viable, but yet you make Soldier completely useless, and he's an actual damage hero who benefits from damage. Baptiste is a support hero. I'm not saying to take away his damage and leave him defenseless with only his heals. I'm just saying, like, if you're going to increase his damage viability and make him super, like, damaging, can you at least do the same for your damage heroes and give them a freaking bone every once in a while? Apparently not. This one's going to be a very quick one. I don't really care about this because I don't see this as being too much of a problem already. Mercy! Pressing crouch during Guardian Angel now launches you straight up, and Angelic Descent can now be activated by holding the crouch while airborne. Basically, that the whole point of this is that it's very tough. They wanted to make this easier and implement it because it took away her viability from having to constantly, like, do this. So they're giving her a vertical boost. Bastion! Ironclad passive ability enabled again after being disabled. He now gets a 20% damage reduction versus 30 before, while transformed. I'm just going to read what they wrote because I really have no opinion on this. I didn't see him very often, and it's still not a very hard thing to take care of him anyway. Since introducing the newly upgraded Bastion, we've tracked general sentiment around his new kit being too potent, particularly while in sentry form. Whew. To address this previous concern, we removed the Ironclad passive as a goal of reignite. I think they meant to say reigniting? Or reigning in. Wow, I can't read. Reigning in that perceived power. Now that we've had more time and game data to evaluate, we believe that returning the Ironclad passive will not push him over the edge. I've never really had a problem taking out a Bastion with a Soldier. You just have to know how to do it effectively. And if you have, like, at least, like, as long as your team either takes his attention and he's not paying attention to you, or you have some teammates that are, like, pushing forward properly to a certain extent. They don't even need to full-on dive. You just need to have enough power, enough presence. And you can just eliminate him near immediately as long as he's not being, like, super pocketed by Baptiste and a Mercy. Reaper, Hellfire Shotgun spread reduced from 8 to 7 degrees. In other words, he's just going to be more potent and he's going to have more phantom damage. More on that in another video if I want to really cover that. I've been pointing it out that Reaper has phantom damage, and more lately it's been kind of like, it doesn't really matter because other heroes are gaining more attention. It's kind of funny, like, he can have a small gap increase and yet still deal out a certain amount of damage, and I think that's what this is doing. But I think it's kind of needed at this point, especially going from a 6v6 to 5v5 and there's less shields, so I think I understand it. Sojourn, new hero. I don't play her, I don't care. Railgun energy from non-player targets, barriers, turrets, etc. reduced by an additional 50. Oh, energy gain. Duh. Same thing as ultimate charge, but in this instance, her energy gain is for her particular gun. Okay. Kind of weird. She got full value? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, baby. I don't know. I know what episode she's watching. She's watching her favorite show. And then the last hero on this is Sombra, who I also don't particularly have a problem with. Honestly, she's easy to take care of if you pay enough attention and you know what to look for. Hack ability lockout duration increased from 1 to 1.7 seconds, 7.5, excuse me. The duration of hack abilities lockout often goes unnoticed unless it's being used as an active interrupt. I'm thinking that when, let's say, Soldier or who's a hero in let's say Roadhog, like his whole hog being used and it has a 6-second duration. If it wasn't noticeable unless they interrupted it immediately. In this case, it would be for Overwatch 2 standards versus Overwatch 1, but more on that when they release details. While we're not looking to go back to a previous lockout number like they have in the current game, they want Sombra to have a slightly more time to feel as though the ability is effective, and the change stays in line with their goals for less crowd control abilities in Overwatch 2, and they'll continue to closely monitor and performance data and player feedback to ensure that this remains the case. And then they basically give the whole, like all of you, we're eagerly anticipating the launch of Overwatch 2 on October 4th in 2022. The team has been hard at work and finishing touches and tons of new content for the months ahead. We'll have much more to share about Overwatch 2 over the next several weeks, leading up to launch. And then that's the end of it all, so there's not really much more to go on. Overall, I'm still putting the wrong one. Overall, this doesn't seem like a very bad balance change. Again, there's a couple of complaints when it comes to Soldier 76 or damage heroes in general. I already put out a video of what balance points that I would prefer for Soldier 76 concerning that middle detail, but most of this doesn't seem like it's very terrible. I see what they're trying to do, and it makes sense. It just makes sense. Junker Queen being toned down a bit is really good. The temporary health, giving that is a very huge benefit, especially for damage heroes. It gives them value. The role passives for damage should hopefully help them out a tad bit, and will hopefully help out in the ways that they're intending. Orisa, I have no data on some of these hero things because I didn't encounter them very often. For the ones that I did encounter, it seems like reasonable changes, but we won't know until we get the game, and that is currently, from this moment, less than 2 weeks away. I think this is actually, I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 6 plus 7 is 13, so 13 days away, roughly? By this point, 13 days away, a little under 2 weeks. We'll be finding out whether or not those balance changes are worth it. Who knows? Other than that, I'm going to let you guys go because I don't really have much more to talk about this. I just saw it and thought, let me put out a video. I haven't done it in a while. I still have a plan to do Christian content alongside with gaming content, and I think I'll cover Overwatch 2 because that's primarily my game, and there's really no other game for me to cover. And I don't want to make this an Overwatch dedicated only channel. I want to talk about games that interest me, but right now there's not a lot. I don't like Apex. I don't like Fortnite. I don't like... Maybe Call of Duty would be worth it with Modern Warfare 2. I just don't prefer everything that they throw out there. Other than that, I'm calling it. So, you guys have a good one. I'm glad that you could tune in for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one very soon. Other than that, I hope to find you on my Christian content channel if you find that to your interest, or if not, no harm, no foul. I hope to see you guys around later. Have a good day.